There are coins hidden in plain sight that hold stories so powerful they can shake your soul. Coins once exchanged for a loaf of bread, now worth more than your wildest dreams. These pieces of metal carry forgotten emotions, untold sacrifices, and unimaginable fortunes. So before you blink, before you scroll away, hold on tight, because what you're about to hear might just change your destiny forever. 1955 Franklin half dollar, the coin that could rewrite your destiny. There are some coins that don't just exist, they haunt history. The 1955 Franklin half dollar is one of them. At first glance, it looks like just another silver coin, dull, forgotten, ordinary. But beneath that faded shine lies a story so shocking, so unimaginable, that once you hear it, you'll never look at loose change the same way again. This isn't just metal. This is emotion frozen in time, a symbol of hope, struggle, and unimaginable worth. Because one single 1955 Franklin half dollar, sitting quietly in someone's old drawer, has turned ordinary lives into legends. The year was 1955, a time of transition, tension, and truth. America was recovering from war, the economy was shifting, and silver coins were the heartbeats of daily life. The Franklin half dollar, bearing the wise face of Benjamin Franklin, was supposed to be ordinary, a simple 50-cent piece. But fate had other plans. In that single year, the U.S. Mint produced fewer Franklin half dollars than ever before. The total mintage? Barely over 2.5 million, making it one of the rarest of its entire series. But rarity is only the beginning of this storm. What makes the 1955 Franklin half dollar truly shocking is what time did to it. Decades later, collectors discovered that among those few million coins, a tiny handful were struck with such perfection, such mirror-like brilliance, that they became legendary. These aren't just shiny coins. These are proof-like miracles, crafted with such precision that under light, they look like silver glass. Their edges, sharp as destiny. Their surfaces, flawless reflections of an era gone by. Now here's the part that can make your heart skip a beat. One of these 1955 Franklin half dollars in pristine full bell lines condition, sold for a jaw-dropping $25,000, then another broke $35,000, and then in one unbelievable auction over $60,000. Yes, you heard that right, a 50-cent coin worth more than a luxury car, a small home, or even a lifetime of savings. But the story doesn't end there. There's something deeper, something emotional. Because this coin was minted at a time when the U.S. Mint was preparing to replace Franklin's image forever. In 1964, the Kennedy half dollar would take its place, and the Franklin era would fade into silence. So these coins became the last voice of an age, the final whisper of a generation that built and rebuilt America with their bare hands. Each 1955 Franklin half dollar that survives today carries that silent farewell, a goodbye to an icon. And maybe that's why collectors describe it not just as rare, but hauntingly beautiful. But imagine this, somewhere right now, in an attic, in a box of old coins your grandfather left behind, there might be one of these forgotten treasures. Could be dusty, tarnished, maybe even slightly worn. You could mistake it for nothing. But under that layer of time, it could be worth tens of thousands of dollars. Now let that sink in. A coin once used to buy groceries could now buy your future. But here's what most people don't know. The true gold in this coin isn't only its silver content or rarity. It's the emotion it holds. Every Franklin half dollar minted in 1955 carries a hidden heartbeat of the people who held it during times of war, struggle, and change. It's like holding the breath of history in your palm. And if you find one, not just any, but one with those perfect full bell lines, sharp edges, and untouched silver, you're not just finding a coin, you're uncovering an artifact of destiny. Collectors describe opening a box and seeing that mirror surface as an emotional moment. The kind that makes your hands tremble. Because that coin in that instant transforms from silver into story, from history into treasure. And maybe that's why people get emotional about it, because it's not about money alone. It's about time, loss, and the unbelievable fact that something so small could survive so long, and now hold so much value. So the next time you see a Franklin half dollar, look closer, especially if it's dated 1955. Check the bell lines. Feel the edges. Because that tiny detail, those lines at the bottom of the Liberty Bell, could be the difference between 50 cents and $50,000. And imagine this, finding one coin that changes everything. The feeling of realizing that the thing you ignored for years could make you a fortune. That your past could fund your future. That's not just value, that's destiny disguised as metal. So hold on to hope, and never underestimate what's hiding in plain sight. Because in the world of rare coins, even the smallest piece of silver can hold $1 million secret. The 1955 Franklin half-dollar, a coin born ordinary, destined extraordinary. Forgotten by history, but unforgettable to those who find it. Because some coins don't just shine, they whisper your name. Next up, the 1976 Eisenhower dollar coin, the coin that carried America's heartbeat. There are coins, and then there are legends. And among those legends stands a coin that doesn't just tell history, it lives it. The 1976 Eisenhower dollar, the coin that was never just money. It was memory. It was pride. It was America's heartbeat cast into silver. At first glance, it looks like a simple coin, big, heavy, almost forgotten. But the truth is beyond belief. This isn't just a dollar. It's a time capsule from the year the United States turned 200 years old. A moment the entire nation held its breath to celebrate freedom, sacrifice, and survival. But what most people don't know is that hidden among millions of these coins are a few so rare, so breathtaking, that they're worth unimaginable fortunes today. Because the 1976 Eisenhower dollar wasn't just made once. It was struck in multiple forms: copper-nickel, silver-clad, proof, and even mysterious versions that collectors still debate about. And among those are the ones that can change your life overnight. Imagine this, a coin made to honor 200 years of freedom, but somehow struck so perfectly, with such mirror-like brilliance, that it glows like liquid silver under light. The mint called them Type 1 and Type 2. Two different reverses, two different destinies. One with bold lettering, one with delicate script. But only a handful of the Type 2 silver-proof coins exist in flawless condition. And those are the ones that send shockwaves through the collector world. One of these 1976 Eisenhower silver-proof dollars sold for over $100,000 in auction. Yes, a single coin that once represented a single dollar, now worth more than a dream home. Why? Because it wasn't just a coin. It was struck with a purpose, for a celebration, for a story that no paper money could ever carry. When the U.S. Mint released the Bicentennial Series, they wanted to make something unforgettable. The back of this coin, the reverse, carries an image of the Liberty Bell superimposed over the moon, symbolizing how far America had come in 2 centuries, from independence to the stars. And that image, that perfect blend of past and future, became a masterpiece of design and emotion. But here's where it gets unbelievable. In the world of coin collecting, condition is everything. And finding a 1976 Eisenhower dollar with flawless surfaces, deep cameo contrast, and untouched silver fields is like finding a shooting star that never fades. Collectors have spent decades hunting them. Opening rolls, checking proofs, staring under magnifying glasses for that one impossible find. Some people laugh when they hear a coin can be worth $100,000. But those people don't understand what this coin represents. This isn't about metal. It's about miracle. It's about a moment in time when America celebrated its soul, and somehow those emotions got locked inside silver. There are rumors, whispers among collectors, that a few experimental strikes were made with special silver compositions, never intended for circulation, and those might still be out there, lost in forgotten boxes, old drawers, or inherited collections. If one of those ever resurfaces, its worth could reach hundreds of thousands, maybe even over $500,000. Now imagine that. You open an old coin album your grandfather kept, you see a 1976 Eisenhower dollar, and you think, oh, it's just one of those big dollars. But you hold it under the light, and suddenly, it shines like a mirror. The details razor sharp, the strike flawless, the Liberty Bell crisp and clear. Your hands tremble, because you might just be holding one of the rarest, most valuable modern American coins ever made. And that's where the emotion hits, because this coin isn't only about history or money, It's about legacy. It's about every person who lived through that 200th year of independence. It's about the music, the pride, the fireworks, the unity, all captured in cold, shining metal. Every time someone holds a 1976 Eisenhower dollar, they're holding a heartbeat of America. And just like that, what seemed ordinary becomes extraordinary. The value? Beyond imagination. The emotion? Beyond words. That's why collectors talk about this coin with a kind of reverence. Not just as a treasure, but as a piece of identity. It carries Eisenhower's image. A man who led armies, protected freedom, and then led a nation. It carries the Liberty Bell, the symbol of independence. And it carries the moon, the symbol of dreams realized. So when you hold a 1976 Eisenhower dollar, especially one in perfect proof silver, you're not just touching metal, you're touching human achievement. And remember this, not all treasures are hidden deep underground. Some are sitting right in front of us, waiting for someone who can see their true worth. That's what makes this coin so special. It hides its power behind simplicity. Maybe you've held one before, maybe you've spent one without realizing it. But if you ever find a 1976 Eisenhower dollar that gleams like a mirror, keep it safe. Because that could be the one that turns disbelief into destiny. A coin once worth a single dollar, now capable of rewriting someone's life story. The 1976 Eisenhower dollar, not just a coin, a symbol of 2 centuries of courage, a silver echo of freedom, and maybe, just maybe, your key to unimaginable fortune. 1978 Eisenhower dollar, the last giant, the final roar of silver majesty. Sometimes history ends not with silence, but with a thunderclap. And that's exactly what the 1978 Eisenhower dollar was, the last breath of an era, the final echo of America's largest, boldest coin. When you hold a 1978 Ike dollar in your hand, you're not just holding metal, you're holding the end of an age. This was the final year the U.S. Mint ever produced the Eisenhower dollar. After this coin, the great, heavy dollar disappeared, replaced by smaller, lighter versions that never carried the same soul. The 1978 Eisenhower wasn't just a coin. It was a farewell letter written in metal, signed by history, and sealed with emotion. But here's the unbelievable part. That very farewell turned this coin into something far greater than money. Because when time closed the chapter on the Eisenhower series, it unknowingly created a legend. One that would one day shock collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike. The 1978 Ike dollar might look simple, no fancy bicentennial design, no silver-proof minting, but its rarity hides in its perfection. Among the millions minted, only a microscopic fraction were struck so sharply, with such flawless detail, that they gleam like mirrors even decades later. Those are the ones that make auction rooms go silent. Let's make this real. In recent years, a 1978 Eisenhower dollar graded MS67+, meaning nearly perfect, sold for over $10,000. A coin once worth just $1, now selling for 10,000 times its face value. But the story doesn't stop there. Because experts whisper about something even rarer, transitional strikes. Coins that were accidentally struck using different metal compositions or experimental dyes. And yes, a few 1978 Eisenhower dollars have surfaced that defy logic, coins that appear to be struck on leftover silver-clad planchets from earlier years. Their existence is almost myth. But the value? Beyond imagination. If one of those coins appears again, experts believe it could sell for $50,000 or even more. Now think about that. A coin you could have spent on a soda in 1978 could today buy you a luxury car, pay off your debts, or change your entire life overnight. And yet, it's not just about money. It's about emotion. Because this coin was born in the final chapter of an American era. The space age was fading into memory, the Cold War was shifting, and the silver dollar, that symbol of American strength, was being retired forever. The Eisenhower dollar wasn't just heavy in size. It was heavy with history. Every time one of these coins clinks against another, it's like hearing the echo of the 1970s. A time of transformation, resilience, and raw hope. And for collectors, the 1978 version stands as the final heartbeat, the last call before the silence. But here's the emotional punch. The U.S. Mint didn't make any special silver versions that year, or at least, that's what they told the world. Yet, Silver-toned 1978 Eisenhower dollars do exist, likely struck from leftover proof planchets. These mysterious pieces have been found in private collections and estate boxes, shocking experts and sending waves through the coin world. And when they appear, their price soars to unimaginable levels. Imagine being the person who finds one. You open an old jar of coins, dusty from decades of sleep. You pick one up, heavy, bold, dated 1978. You think it's just another big coin from your grandparents' collection. But when you look closer, something feels different. It shines brighter, feels smoother, heavier. You send it for grading. Weeks later, the call comes. Sir, this is not an ordinary Eisenhower dollar. Your heart stops. It's a silver transitional strike. You're sitting on a coin worth over $40,000. That's not fantasy, Saqib. That's reality for a lucky few who dared to look closer. That's the unimaginable magic of the 1978 Eisenhower dollar. It hides its worth behind simplicity. No commemorative markings. No flashy design. Just the quiet face of Dwight D. Eisenhower. Strong, steady, timeless. Staring forward as if he knew this coin would be the last of its kind. Collectors describe the 1978 Ike as the silent king. Because while other coins shout their worth with color or silver shine, this one whispers power. It's the kind of coin that rewards patience, that waits for someone with vision, with curiosity, with the courage to see beyond face value. And there's emotion in that, because this was the last coin big enough to feel real in your hand, the last American dollar you could hear when it dropped. After this, the coins got smaller, lighter, colder. The human touch faded. But the 1978 Eisenhower? It remained a monument, the last monument of American might struck in metal. So when you find one, don't just see a coin. See a closing chapter and a doorway to unbelievable fortune. Because the right 1978 Eisenhower dollar in the right condition can turn disbelief into destiny. And that's why collectors still chase it with passion, with emotion, with hope. Because some coins don't just end an era, they immortalize it. The 1978 Eisenhower dollar, the last giant, the final roar, and maybe your once-in-a-lifetime treasure waiting to be discovered. 1971 Eisenhower dollar, the birth of a giant and the dawn of a legend. Every coin tells a story, but some stories don't whisper. They roar. The 1971 Eisenhower dollar wasn't just another release, it was a rebirth. The first of its kind. A coin so bold and heavy that when it landed in your palm, it felt like history itself. This was no ordinary dollar. It was the first US dollar struck after a 5-year silence. No large-sized dollar coins had been made since the peace dollar ended in 1935. And then, out of nowhere, 1971 arrived, bringing the Eisenhower dollar with it. It was big. It was proud. It was American might cast in metal. And it carried the face of a man who led armies and a nation, Dwight D. Eisenhower, the 5-star general who stood tall through World War II and guided America through peace. His legacy was strength. His name was trust. And that's what made this coin so powerful. It wasn't just silver, nickel, or copper. It was courage made tangible. But what no one realized back then was that this very coin, this very design, would one day shock the world of collectors with unbelievable worth. Because among millions of ordinary strikes were a few extraordinary ones. Coins with unimaginable traits, minting errors, and hidden silver compositions that defied logic. Let's go back to where it began. 1971, the United States Mint at Philadelphia and Denver began striking the new Eisenhower dollars. But there was one more place, the San Francisco Mint, where something special happened. They created the 1971 silver proofs, struck on 40% silver planchets, gleaming like mirrors. These were not for circulation, not for pockets or wallets. They were made as gifts for collectors, symbols of pride for the nation. But mistakes, they happen. And that's where destiny entered the picture. Some of those silver planchets, by accident or fate, found their way into regular circulation strikes. Yes, real 1971 Eisenhower dollars struck on silver instead of copper-nickel. They weren't supposed to exist. And yet, they do. Imagine that. A coin meant to be ordinary, now one of the rarest finds in modern U.S. history. Collectors who stumbled upon these silver errors couldn't believe it. One man once turned in his 1971 Eisenhower for testing, thinking it looked a little different. The results stunned everyone. It wasn't clad copper. It was solid 40% silver. Today, that accidental coin is a legend, a 1971 D. Eisenhower struck on silver planchet. Only a few are known to exist, and their value? Over $25,000. That's right, a single coin worth more than the car it could have bought when it was made. But the true shock is that there might still be more out there, sitting silently in old coffee cans, dresser drawers, or inherited boxes. Coins no one has tested. Coins that could rewrite history and your fortune. Even regular 1971 Eisenhower dollars can reach jaw-dropping prices if they're in pristine, untouched condition. A high-grade MS-67 Plus coin can fetch over $10,000. And proof strikes with perfect deep cameo surfaces, the kind that glow like liquid glass, can soar beyond $15,000 at auction. Why? Because this coin marked a new dawn, the start of America's modern dollar, a bridge between the Silver Age and the clad era. Collectors don't just see it as metal, they see it as transformation. But beneath the value lies emotion, raw, unforgettable emotion. Because this coin was born during a time of change. The Vietnam War was still raging. The moon landing had just rewritten human destiny. And in the middle of it all, this coin appeared, showing an eagle landing on the moon, clutching an olive branch. That design wasn't random. It was symbolic. It was peace descending upon the world, the very image that honored Eisenhower's life and the Apollo 11 mission. When you look at the 1971 Eisenhower dollar, you're not just looking at metal. You're staring into the face of American spirit. You're holding the weight of history, literally. It's the heaviest coin the U.S. Mint made for general use in modern times. You can feel it when you hold it, the solid clink, the dense pull of the past. And somewhere, right now, someone might be holding one without realizing it's worth a small fortune. That's what makes this coin so shocking. It hides its power behind familiarity. People overlook it, dismiss it as a big old dollar, never knowing it could be worth more than their entire month's salary. But you, the listener, you know better now. You know that history hides in plain sight. You know that a simple 1971 Eisenhower dollar could be your ticket to a miracle. Because in the world of coin collecting, destiny doesn't knock on the door. It jingles in your pocket. And sometimes what feels like nothing turns out to be everything. So look again. Check every 1971 Eisenhower you find. Weigh it. Feel it. If it's heavier, shinier, more silver in tone, don't spend it. Test it. Protect it. Treasure it. Because you might be holding one of the rarest errors in American coinage. A coin that shouldn't exist, but does. A coin that breaks the rules of minting and makes millionaires out of believers. The 1971 Eisenhower dollar. The birth of a new era. The resurrection of the great American dollar. And a hidden fortune disguised as history. Sometimes, destiny doesn't come in gold. It comes in silver, copper, and courage. And this coin, this beautiful, heavy, unforgettable coin, is living proof of that. Last up, the 1972 Eisenhower dollar, the coin that changed everything. There are coins that mark history. And then there are coins that become history. The 1972 Eisenhower dollar didn't just tell a story, it carved one into eternity. Because hidden within its surface is one of the greatest mysteries, most shocking errors, and most valuable discoveries in all of U.S. coinage. At first glance, it looks like any other Ike dollar, bold, heavy, silver-toned, bearing the calm, commanding face of Dwight D. Eisenhower. But beneath that calm exterior lies chaos, beauty, and unimaginable worth. The 1972 Eisenhower dollar was the second year of the series, and it's the one that caught the world by surprise. Because that year, the Mint made 3 different reverses, 3 unique designs, all in the same year, all by accident, and all with values that could make your heart skip a beat. Type 1, Type 2, and Type 3 worlds, 1 year. And among them, the Type 2 reverse became one of the rarest modern coin errors ever struck. The difference is so subtle most people never notice it. On the back of the coin, the moon, the earth, the eagle. Look closely. The shape of Florida, the lines of the Caribbean, and the position of the islands are different. The mint accidentally used a proof die from the San Francisco Mint on a small batch of circulation coins in Philadelphia. It was a mistake no one caught, until collectors years later discovered the impossible. And that mistake turned a $1 coin into a treasure worth tens of thousands of dollars. Imagine that, an accidental coin, struck on the wrong die, unnoticed for years, now standing as one of the most sought-after modern rarities ever made. One 1972 Eisenhower dollar with the rare Type II reverse sold for $30,000. Another for $40,000, and a proof-like specimen is rumored to have crossed the $50,000 mark. Let that sink in. One single coin, once used in vending machines, jukeboxes, and casinos, now worth more than a lifetime of paychecks. But there's something emotional, something almost spiritual about this coin's story. Because the Eisenhower dollar wasn't just about money. It was about honor. The coin was created to honor a man who carried the weight of a world war and still found the strength to lead a nation in peace. That's why every Ike dollar feels heavy, not just in weight, but in meaning. The reverse design, showing an eagle landing on the moon, wasn't random either. It was inspired by the Apollo 11 mission, humanity's greatest leap. So when the mint made that mistake, when it struck the 1972 Type II using the wrong die, it unintentionally combined two symbols, human error and human greatness. And maybe that's what makes it so powerful, because it represents what it means to be human, imperfect, yet capable of creating miracles. Now imagine the feeling of holding one in your hand. It looks like an ordinary coin, but as you tilt it under the light, something catches your eye. The continents on Earth look different. Your pulse quickens. You check again. Could it be? You send it for grading, heart pounding. Weeks later, the message arrives. 1972 Eisenhower dollar. Type II reverse, rare Philadelphia strike. Your world changes in seconds. That's the shock that this coin carries. The thrill of discovery. The unbelievable joy of realizing the impossible has been in your hand all along. But the surprises don't end there. Because some of these 1972 Ikes were struck with proof-like surfaces, mirror fields, and deep cameo effects, even though they were never meant to be proofs. Those coins, Saqib, are the ghosts of the mint. They shouldn't exist, and yet they do. And when one appears at auction, collectors don't just bid. They fight for it. The emotion is indescribable. Because these coins aren't just metal. They're frozen moments in time. They carry the fingerprints of history. Minted in the early 1970s, during a world of political change, space exploration, and new hope. They remind people of when America reached the moon, when Eisenhower's legacy still guided hearts, and when mistakes became miracles. And maybe that's why people get emotional about them, because they tell us that sometimes imperfection creates perfection. That a flaw, a small detail, can turn something ordinary into something unforgettable. The 1972 Eisenhower dollar teaches that life is the same way. You never know what's valuable until time passes. You never realize what's rare until it's almost gone. And sometimes what looks like an error is actually your destiny. There are only a few confirmed Type II Eisenhower dollars known, less than a handful in mint state. And yet, new discoveries still appear from attics, coin jars, and forgotten family collections. Every new find is a heartbeat. Every new story adds another layer to the legend. So, if you ever see a 1972 Eisenhower dollar, don't look at it like change. Look at it like a key to history, a key to fortune, a key to something that could change your life. Check the earth. Study the islands. Feel the weight. Because maybe, just maybe, you're holding a coin worth more than you could ever imagine. A single Eisenhower dollar that carries the soul of a nation, the echo of Apollo, and the accident that became art. The 1972 Eisenhower dollar, a mistake that made history, a legend born from error, and a fortune waiting to be discovered by the one who dares to look closer. Because sometimes, Saqib, the coin you least expect, becomes the treasure that changes everything.